Arjun Das, please do it.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Tirmahandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jetam Surto Pango Mama Mandir Materyati Matsarvasva Padam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohan Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpatrumadaha Shrimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prishtalibi Sevya Manosmarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsi Vata Tatastitaha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopi Gopinata Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Shri Guru dinatarinam nama om Vishnu padaya Krishna preshtaya bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Amalapuran Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are, Mataji.
Okay. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining in spite of your health issues. We really appreciate. Please accept our humble obeisances from everybody who have joined in the group and are about to join. Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 19, and the text for today is text 35, Prabhuji. So I hand over to you, Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavati sevaya bhagavate uttama shloker bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 19, Text 35. And I believe that the chapter is entitled, please bear with me, I think it is the appearance of, excuse me, it's called The Appearance of Shukadev Goswami. Right. So, do we have our young friend with us, or should I go ahead and read the Sanskrit, Mataji?
Prabhuji, we don't have Shashwin today. He probably has exams tomorrow, so he's not joining this week.
So I wish him all the best. Shashwin Prabhu, if you can hear me, I'm wishing you all the best for your exams tomorrow. Be stress-free. And may Ma Saraswati Devi, who we've just glorified now, also descend upon you to give you that eternal knowledge, the Divya Jnana of Srimad Bhagavatam. Api me Bhagavan Prita Krishna Pandu Sutta Priya Patra Svashya Pritya Artam Tat Gotra Syata Bhandava. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charanarvindam Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousins and brothers. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A pure and exclusive devotee of the Lord serves his family interest more dexterously than others who are attached to illusory family affairs. Generally, people are attached to family matters, and the whole economic impetus of human society is moving under the influence of family affection. Such deluded persons have no information that one can render better service to the family by becoming a devotee of the Lord. The Lord gives special protection to the family members and descendants of a devotee, even though such members are themselves non-devotees. Maharaj Prahlad was a great devotee of the Lord, but his father Hiranyakashipu was a great atheist and declared enemy of the Lord. But despite all this, Hiranyakashipu was awarded salvation due to his being the father of Maharaj Prahlad. The Lord is so kind that he gives all protection to the family members of his devotee. And thus the devotee has no need to bother about his family members, even if one leaves such family members aside to discharge devotional service. Maharaj Yudhishthir and his brothers were the sons of Kunti, the paternal aunt of Lord Krishna. And Maharaj Parikshit admits the patronage of Lord Krishna because of his being the only grandson of the great Pandavas. So there's actually 2 points which have just sprung to mind there, which are beyond what I'd contemplated even. And it's amazing how dynamic Srila Prabhupada's purports are, that you can go back and read something which you may have actually only read even a few moments before, and you get newer and fresher realizations. I mean, that is the nature of this Divya Gyan. Divya Gyan is this transcendental knowledge. And what is the nature of transcendental knowledge? Transcendental knowledge means that it is not limited, it is unlimited, it is eternal, it is ever fresh, it is multifaceted. Why? Because it is ultimately a reflection of the Lord himself. So these 2 points which came up to me now was about how the economic impetus, and also about Panchakosha, and I'll come back to that. I'm going to make a note of those two and the significance there. But I think this is a very fitting verse. At the moment, people may or may not know that we are actually in the Pitrapaksh point of the year. This is the Pitra Paksh fortnight, where traditionally followers of Sanatana Dharma and Hindus, we can call them Hindus, even though, as many of you may know, the word Hindu is not found in any Vedic text. I don't know whether people know this. That word Hindu you will not find in Bhagavad Gita. That word Hindu you will not find in Srimad Bhagavatam. That word Hindu you will not find in all of the Vedas, all of the Upanishads, all of the Vedangas. The word Hindu is not present. So for the sake of modern parlance, we call ourselves Hindu. Actually, the word Hindu comes from the Persian invasion of what we now know as Bharat. And they refer to everyone who is east of the river Sindh. They couldn't say Sindh, so they would say Hind. And all of the teachings, practices of people to the east of the river Sindh were known as the Hindus. And I often give this example to people that imagine you were an alien from outer space and you'd first come to the planet Earth. You never encountered the planet Earth. When I say alien, I don't mean in the terms of our understanding that we have multi-planetary systems. I'm talking more from a Hollywood perspective of a green, bog-eyed alien coming from outer space and encountering the planet Earth for the first time. And imagine they flew over Oxford Street or one of these Western countries which we see depicted in the media on Christmas Eve. And I asked them to imagine what that alien would see on Christmas Eve. He may see lots of people shopping. He'll probably see a lot of people intoxicated. He'll see lights. He'll see a man dressed in red breaking into people's chimneys. He'll see flying reindeers. And this is the most important holiday of the so-called Christian calendar. And if you ask that alien, based on his third-party observation of what the most important religion and the most important festival of that religion was about, what would he see, and how would he be able to describe the most important festival in Christianity? He'd say, well, I think this festival is about a man who has a flying sled with flying reindeers and a tree covered in lights, and it's something to do with presents, and there's a lot of drinking involved. And then there were some people, but very few, who were also going to church. So would a third party representation of Christianity be able to give a true reflection of what the essence was of their most important festival? Of course it wouldn't. Because actually the Christmas is the mass of the appearance of Christ. It's like the Janmastami. Janma means birth. Our most important festival, one of the most important festivals, is Janmastami. The Astami when Krishna has his Janma, his appearance. So that depiction of Christianity in its most important festival from a third party who is not in knowledge would take the spiritual core, which is the mass of Christ, but also all of these social things which surround it and interweave everything. And it would be represented in a way which is probably not truly reflective of actually the essential spiritual meaning. Now, the problem with the term Hindu is that it's very much like an alien coming and seeing all of the cultural practices of India, regional practices of India, of which there are many, and how they kind of wrap the true spiritual core, the true spiritual essence. So we seem to be taking a bit of a tangent, but it's very important that we have, many of us are not only Vaishnavas, but we have been born into a so-called Hindu background. And it is important for us to realize what is cultural, and that by no means am I saying to disband or to do away with the cultural thing, but we should also try to understand the essence of what these cultural practices mean. I'll give another example which is coming up. Navratri, especially for Gujaratis, is a very important time of year. And in Navratri, they follow Garba. Now, Navratri is the 9 nights of Durga Ma. Durga Ma is, we know, the external energy of the Lord, Subhadra Maharani, Mahamaya. But during Navratri, many people follow this Garba and also have Dandya. Now, why do they have Dandiya? You ask the majority of Hindus, why do you do Dandiya? They have no idea. This is what we do on Navratri, we do Dandiya. It's because Navratri finishes when? On Ras Purnima. Ras Purnima is the night, we know, where the gopis and Krishna extended the night, the beautiful full moon night, to the length of a day of Brahma. And they engage in the topmost ras. But what has happened is that this internal philosophical fact, through cultural practices, has now become associated with Durga Ma. And people cannot understand the true significance of the Dandiya and the Garba, which is actually glorification of Lord Krishna. And they can't extricate it from the tattva, or the understanding of Durga and the celebration of it. Not that there is any reason for us to disrespect Durga Mata, because, as we know, she is Subhadra Maharani, and Krishna also told Arjun before the battlefield, you go and worship Durga, and she will give you the victory in the battlefield. Similarly, the gopis, they worship Ma Katyayani when they wanted to have Krishna as a husband. So, of course, Krishna, Durga is ultimately an expansion of Srimati Radharani. But as Hindus, we have taken the Vedic culture, the true Sanatan culture, and it has become a bit mixed. And we can't understand the true tattva and separate the true siddhanta, the tattva, the truth of the matter, from the cultural practices. And that's why we should become very aware. And the reason that I bring up this topic is because what has happened with the Vedic culture, and even Krishna alludes to this in Bhagavad Gita. Why did he come? He said, actually, the essential teachings that were passed down even from the Lord to Vibhishan, to the sun god, have become lost. And I have come to re-establish it. Paritharanaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I come millennium after millennium to Paritharanaya sadhunam, to re-establish and to protect the sadhus when this knowledge becomes lost. So the passage of knowledge can become dislocated by different events of the world. And in fact, we've alluded to it here. Where I'm going with this is that actually Srila Prabhupada in this purport has talked about Prahlad delivering Hiranyakashipu. Now, those of you who have read about Hiranyakashipu know that Hiranyakashipu was trying to systematically remove Narayan's supremacy from the whole world. The teachers were not allowed to talk about Narayan or Vishnu. There was to be no mention of Narayan being the supreme. And in fact, I won't call it Gurukul, we can call it Gurukul loosely, that Prahlad Maharaj was learning at. The teachers were systematically trying to put forward the supremacy of Hiranyakashipu, not the supremacy of the Supreme Lord Narayan. But actually, because Prahlad Maharaj had heard Narad while he was in the womb, he was telling all of his schoolmates, actually, Narayan is the supreme. It's not Hiranyakashipu. And this shows how there can be a dislocation. But because Prahlad Maharaj was there, ultimately his grandson Bali became a devotee. And then that parampara was re-established. So I think that this purport is very important because we see, I've been trying to explain how parampara, lineage, is extremely important in carrying this essential truth of the Vedas. And this verse centers around how Parikshit Maharaj is extolling the glories of his parampara, of his family members. So we're in Pitra Paksha now, where we recognize. And he says that Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his cousins and brothers. So he is showing how his ability to be connected to Krishna is as a result of his previous lineage. His ability to connect with the Ashraya, the supreme benediction of humanity, is because of this lineage. Every morning when we do our prayers, we have our prema dhvani. And what are the things that we recognize? Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Satashishi Manchula Bhai Charanarvindam Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And then we say, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Stotra Sata Shishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sri Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Das Raghunath, Sat Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we are recognizing the predecessor acharyas. We are recognizing either our paternal, our dynasty, or we are recognizing our spiritual dynasty. Because only through this parampara can we become connected to the Lord. It is only by the grace of our spiritual parampara, it is only by the grace of our previous family members that we can become connected to the Lord. Of course, at times, this can become disconnected. There can be a dislocation. We have seen that sometimes even us as people from Bharat, many of us actually find our lineage in Bharat, maybe not all of us, but most of us come from Bharat. It can become dislocated. But there will always be somebody who comes to reestablish. And through that, reestablishing that knowledge, whether it's Krishna himself or his representative like Srila Prabhupada, we are then able to have that connection with Krishna. Just like Parikshit Maharaj is now having that connection with Krishna through his family member. Now, of course, we understand that they say blood is thicker than water. What that means is you can share a glass of water with somebody else, but the blood that you share with your family is thicker. But more enduring even than blood is spirit, right? More enduring than blood is spirit. So our spiritual lineage takes precedent even over our blood lineage. And our blood lineage takes precedent over our friend circle. So we should never forget that blood is thicker than water, but spirit is more enduring than blood. That being said, we should never decry our family lineage. We should never think that our family is useless, they are not devotees, they're bekar, we give them up. Srila Prabhupada showed this example personally. He personally, until one of the last contact, one of the last people who was there to cook for Srila Prabhupada was Pishima Devi. Pishima Devi was Srila Prabhupada's sister. Pishima Devi was also a follower of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Srila Prabhupada, even though he left family life, he was never ever disrespectful to his wife. He commemorated Gaur Mohan De, Sriman Gaur Mohan De at the beginning of Krishna book. You open up Krishna book, which is the 10th canto, ultimately the highest perfection, and who Prabhupada recognizes Gaur Mohan De, who inculcated these spiritual values in his heart. And then he said to my eternal father, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we should understand that while, of course, the spiritual nature is our eternal nature, the connection to our family is still important and is still there to be respected. And now it's very fitting time, because we're in Pitra Paksh, that we should recognize the contribution that family has given to us. You know, it's very fashionable, and I think even since I was a child, for there to be this sense that rebelling against your family, that's how you become independent. Oh, my family just don't get me. You know, I'm going to do things my way, especially in the West. I don't know about, maybe in Kenya, it's different, but certainly in Western media, American media certainly, and now I think it's universal. Your parents are depicted as oppressors. They're stopping me from doing what I got to do in my life. They don't get me. You know, they don't understand what I'm about. You know, I'm gonna be the next big MC, hip hop, whatever it is now. Maybe it's not. I don't know what kids aspire to be. I'm gonna be Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi times 10. They don't get me. I'm gonna be Virat Kohli's big brother. But actually, the debt that every individual owes a debt to someone. Everyone who is on this planet owes a debt to someone, owes a debt of gratitude to someone. Even an orphan. If someone is alive, there has been a sacrifice given by that person's mother, even to the point of bringing him to birth. He owes a debt. Of course, it may be tragic circumstances by how he's been separated, but he owes a debt to his mother for at least giving him birth. He owes a debt to whoever was there in the hospital for nurturing to that point. Until one is self-sufficient, he is dependent on so many people. Even if his mother has caused some mother or father have abandoned him, what about their parents? He owes a debt to them for raising them to allow him to come into this world. Some debt is there. What to speak of people who've had loving parents who have taken care of them throughout their life until maturity? There is a debt. There is a responsibility. We can't say that we don't, that no one will sacrifice for you in this life what your family has sacrificed for you. And Srila Prabhupada says that gentlemen will always recognize the sacrifice of others. When Arjun, he has been haunted, he has been persecuted, his wife has been humiliated. And at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we see that he's feeling compassion for the other side. They have tortured him, but he's still feeling compassion for his family. And Srila Prabhupada said, this shows the mark of a gentleman, of a cultured person. So we do owe a debt, even in this life. However, and Pitra Paksha is therefore a very important ceremony for people at large. However, even higher than offering some material sacrifice to your elders, what does Srila Prabhupada say in this purport? A pure and exclusive devotee of the Lord serves his family interests more dexterously than others who are attached to illusory family affairs. Why? Why? Because he is able to deliver not just material benefit to his family members, he is able to suit that and move into the eternal level. Somebody who's offering pitradhan, generally there is some material benefit. It is this blood connection. You know, we mentioned blood is thicker than water. You will either help them enjoy whatever body they are in the heavenly planets, or you will allow them to take another opulent birth somewhere else. So you are effectively helping them on the blood level. You know, even in the spiritual world, even in the heavenly planets, you have a physical body, albeit it's more subtle, there's higher enjoyment, it's still a physical body. A devotee, however, is accounting for the soul of his ancestors. He is taking that debt that he has accrued by those previous generations, and he is repaying it in a way, not just for 1,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000,000. He is helping them through eternity. He is helping them through eternity, right? And Srila Prabhupada is saying the Lord gives special protection to the family members and descendants of a devotee, even though such members are themselves non-devotees. And the most clear example of this is Maharaj Prahlad to Hiranyakashipu. Okay, he didn't help in the blood side of things. I mean, because we know that Hiranyakashipu, his intestines were out and were used as a garland for the Lord. So maybe on the blood side of things, he didn't do so much, but Hiranyakashipu's success, he went from the biggest offender of Sri Nrsingadev, ultimately to getting the benediction equivalent to Prahlad Maharaj. He said, I cannot, Prahlad Maharaj, when he was asked by Hiranyakashipu, what do you need? He said, I can't go to the spiritual world alone. I can't go alone without that. You please take mercy on my father. So that is the value of being a devotee. Okay, the Pitradhan may not be there, but no one would complain if you deny them 10 Kenyan shillings and then gave them 1,000,000 Kenyan shillings, or 1,000,000,000 Kenyan shillings, or an unlimited amount of Kenyan shillings. Okay, if you may not give the Pitradhan, but you will give an unlimited, you'll give a blank check every day for all eternity to your ancestors. And that is the difference of a devotee. It's not that a devotee disregards the value of his family. He disregards the value the debt that he owes to society. But a devotee recognizes and pays it back unlimitedly. And that is the unique nature of the devotee. So, but Srila Prabhupada, you see, Prabhupada also mentioned, and it could be considered as somewhat, I won't say controversial, but it could be somewhat surprising. Srila Prabhupada even says here, towards the end of the purport, the Lord is so kind that he gives all protection to the family members of his devotee, and thus the devotee has no need to bother about his family members, even if one leaves such family members aside to discharge devotional service. That's a powerful statement. Powerful and somewhat alarming. It seems to fly in the face of everything we've just said. So how do we understand this? You see, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about renunciation, and he says, what is the use of false repression? Repression will accomplish nothing. False renunciation will accomplish nothing. So making some show that I am now detached. I am now detached from all of my family responsibilities. You can fend for yourself. Let me go off. Make some show devotions and then actually go off and enjoy my senses. This is not what Srila Prabhupada is talking about, you see. However, if there is some form, and Vyasadeva talks to Narad about this in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto, sometimes there is a genuine attempt, like Maharaj Bharat, to surrender unto the Supreme Lord. And yet, some attachment will come up. Bharat Maharaj, as many of you will know, then became attached to a deer. So should we say that this was artificial? Should we say that, why is this person leaving all of his citizens and then just taking care of a deer? No, I mean, this is not a calculated, false attempt to give up your responsibilities. Bharat Maharaj had made a sincere attempt, but he had fallen short. But as Krishna explains to Arjun, Arjun says, won't I be riven if I surrender? Or as Narad says to Vyasadeva, even more tellingly in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto, even if there is some shortcoming in the execution of one's spiritual duties, in one's progress towards spiritual perfection, the result is that you carry that over with you into your next life. And ultimately, all of your generations will still benefit, because in your next life, if you achieve perfection, 7 generations before and after will be delivered. So there's still no loss. So what Prabhupada is saying here, even if you fall short, okay, in the future, you'll achieve your perfection, so you fall short. On the flip side, you can perform your material duties perfectly. You can become a billionaire. Your family can live gilded lives. You have a wonderful time of it. But what is the enduring benefit of that? Even if you achieve the status of Indra in this life, there is no sense enjoyment on this planet which can compare to that of Indra. No longevity, no amount of facility which can compare that of Indra. Even if you elevate your family to the status of, forget Ambani and all of these other people, who else is Elon Musk, forget about all of Indra. Ultimately, there is a duration of this enjoyment. Who knows how long that duration could be? Even if it's 1,000 years, then when it's over, it's over. So what is the legacy of what you perform? And that is why, ultimately, you see, by leaving family members aside to discharge devotional service, Prabhupada is not referring to a capricious surrendering of duty. If there is a genuine attempt to worship Krishna, ultimately your family is still benefited in a way which supersedes a perfect material life. If Krishna is in the center of that perfect material life, there is a duration. And who knows, with all that material facility, with that proper understanding of who the Ishvara Parama is, Krishna is the one who is the ultimate enjoyer. This perfection, so-called perfection, this material life will lead to degradation and ultimately to suffering. The legacy is suffering. Whereas some suffering, short-term here in this material realm, where families become separated, what is the legacy of that? It's eternal enjoyment. It's eternal elevation. So we see in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it's explained that enjoyment in the mode of passion starts off as nectar. Ooh, material enjoyment. We've got money. Ooh, I'm driving my Lamborghini. I'm driving my Bentley. I'm the richest. I stay in whatever hotel. But the legacy of all of that short-term enjoyment is who knows how many births worth of suffering. Whereas in the mode of goodness, right? mode of goodness. For example, you want to get fit and healthy, you've got to regulate what you eat, get up early, do exercise. Okay, there's some suffering up front. But the legacy of that suffering is then nectar. So you can either have short-term pain for long-term gain, or short-term gain for long-term pain, right? And that is the same as our duty to our family. Sometimes in our attempts to elevate our family, there may be some short-term pain, but we should know if that's performed sincerely, then the long-term legacy will be a gain to all. On the flip side, we may think, let's focus on the here and now. I temple, chanting, we leave all of this. I need to provide for my family now. My family should be known in the world. Great, fine, great. But what is the long-term legacy? You've not made any preparation for that. 50 years, 100 years, it's all finished. No one remembers. And what's the legacy? Nobody knows. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is trying to say. He's not talking about capriciously giving up your duty. No, he is saying if one goes for the highest goal for all of his family members, and ultimately the Lord is the Supreme Father. So all our family members means every living entity in this universe. If one gives up and creates some short-term inconvenience for the ultimate benefit of all of his family across this whole universe, there is no loss there. Of course, this can't be done capriciously. This has to be done as a genuine endeavor. And even if one falls short, like Bharat Maharaj did, Bharat Maharaj became attached to a deer, came back as a deer, then remembered his next life, came back as Jada Bharat, and ultimately achieved his perfection. Still, his family members benefited. And this is directly confirmed by Narad to Vyasadeva in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto. Narad says, even if there's some loss, still your eternal spiritual bank balance is building, and all the generations around you will benefit. In fact, there's references to 7 generations, there's references to 1,000 generations, and there's some references in the Vedas to unlimited generations will benefit, unlimited generations of ancestors, and also the antecedents, the people who are to come, your successors, your progeny, unlimited generations will benefit. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually, doesn't talk about 7 generations or 1,000 generations. It talks about unlimited generations will benefit. So this is the importance. This is how we really do justice to our previous generations. Very appropriate topic for Pitra Paksh, because even by hearing the Bhagavatam, this is the real Pitradhan. This is the Amala Puran. This is the spotless Purana. The spotless thing, something that is perfect, can only give perfect results to those who hear it and to all those who are associated with the person hearing it. And that includes your ancestors. That includes your descendants. And we see that the personality of Godhead is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, the Pandavas. The Pandavas are so dear to the Lord. There are 5 rasas. I'm sure that we all know these 5 rasas, but we can repeat just for the sake of this class. There is the initial rasa, which is called Shanta Ras. Ras means the taste of engaging in service with the Lord. So there's Shanta Ras. There's Shanta Ras, there is Dasya Ras, there's Sakya Ras, there is Vatsalya Ras, and there's Madhurya Ras. Now, generally, when we are with Narayan, service with Narayan, Lakshmi Narayan, is in Shanta Ras and in Dasya Ras. Shanta means neutral. So the Lord's dhoti is serving Narayan, right? That is in a neutral state, because obviously the dhoti just sits there. It serves the Lord, of course, but it's not active. The Lord's chair serves the Lord. The Lord's crown is serving by decorating, but it's passive. Then Dasyaras, you serve as a servant. In Vaikuntha, you can't go up to Narayan and put your arm around his shoulder. No, there's boundaries. Narayan is the king of Vaikuntha. He's not your friend, he is the king. You can offer him something, you can become his servant with the mood of Aishwarya. Aishwarya means awe and reverence. But you can't be fraternal with the Lord. You can't play a prank on the Lord. So that is the mood of of Vaikuntha. Now, the special sweetness of Goloka Vrindavan is that you can become the friend of the Lord. The cowherd boys, they blindfold Krishna, they're sharing their sweet, and they say, try this laddu, try that. They put one laddu in, they put a second laddu in, and the third time they put a flower into Krishna's mouth. They go, what do you think of this one? And the Lord's eating a flower. It's like, hey, this is not a laddu, this is a flower. You know, you play a prank. You jump on the Lord's back, you wrestle the Lord. You know, sometimes they tease the Lord, and he goes back and he complains to Mother Yashoda, everyone's teasing me. They make him cry. You can't do that in Vaikuntha. What, you put a flower in Narayan's mouth? I don't think so. You may get a visit from the Yamadutas or Jay and Vijay saying, hey, you're on the next bus out of here, mate. Gone. So Sakyaras, fraternal relationship of the cowherd boys. Vatsalyaras, forget about playing pranks. Mother Yashoda ties up the Lord with a rope and threatens him with a whipping stick. With a whipping stick. You see, when you threaten the Lord in the material world, like Hiranyakashipu says, I'm going to kill the Lord, what happens to him? He's garlanded, guts out, garlanded. That doesn't happen. You don't threaten Narayan. He finish you. When Ravan threatened Ram, what happened? Finished. 10 heads gone. Bang. Finished. Kamsa threatened Krishna. Forget it. He didn't even use a weapon. He punched him to death. He said it was the ultimate humiliation because Kamsa was such a demon. Lord didn't even use his Sudarshan. He used his hand. He said, you're beneath even the touch of Sudarshan. You are such a rascal. I will use my hand. You beat a dog. You see, you fight with an equal with a weapon. This is what the acharyas say. But you beat a dog with your hand. You see, you beat him like an animal. So you don't threaten Narayan. But Mother Yashoda had such an exalted... She threatened him with a stick. And the Lord ran away. He ran away in fear, rubbing his eyes and crying. That is the nature of the rasa of Goloka Vrindavan. And then ultimately of all, that one rasa, which encompasses all of the other rasas, Shanta, Das, Sakya, Vatsalya, is Madhurya Ras. The Madhurya Ras encompasses all of those rasas and then unlimitedly exceeds all of those. And this rasa is only found in Goloka Vrindavan. And that is exhibited by the gopis, who's headed by the most glorious of all gopis, whose nature empowers the other gopis and their maidservants, and that is Srimati Radharani. Her name in itself, Aradhana, Aradhyate, exemplifies that mood of devotion. So these are the different rasas. And the Pandavas are so dear to the Lord that they are present not only in Vaikuntha and Dwarka as the Lord's companions and his servitors, as his friends who will fight for Dharma, but they are also given a special place within Radhakund. There is a place called Pancha Pandav Ghat on the bank of Shamakund. And in fact, it's very sad, actually. There were 5 trees that used to grow there perpetually since the time of Raghunath Das Goswami. But I think a few years ago, anyway, I can't even utter the words. Those trees may not be physically visible. They are still there, but there were 5 trees which always grew by Shamakund. And the Pandavas were so dear to the Lord that they were able to participate and be witness in all of the different rasas, including the highest place of the Lord's Madhurya Ras, which is Shamakund and Radha, which is literally the physical love, physical representation of the love of Radha and Krishna for each other. And there they were given a permanent place, the Pandavas. You think these burly killers, but they have such a special place in the Lord's heart. And you see, by that association with these Pancha Pandavas, look at the benefit that has come to Parikshit Maharaj. So this is and Parikshit Maharaj realizes this. He says, my qualification is not so great, but because simply of my association with these great Pandavas, therefore I'm eligible to receive the Lord's mercy. Now, in that same way, our eligibility may not be so great, but what do we have? Who do we have? If we are faithful to this person, who do we have? We have Srila Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, who I was reading it again in the Lilamrita, and it still boggles my mind, who begged, not begged, but he was imploring Sumati Morarji for a ticket to take a boat, penniless, so he could give what even Gauranitai have not given, which is taking the holy name of the Lord all across this planet. The holy name, which is the representation. We talk about Radhakund and Shamkund being the physical representation. The holy name of Krishna is non-different from Radhakund and Shamkund. It is the internal heart of Srimati Radharani and Mahaprabhu, and he is taking that all across the world. Srila Prabhupada is a devotee beyond parallel in all of the Vedic, and I'm talking about all devotees. There is no devotee like Srila Prabhupada. And if anyone wants to challenge me on that, we can have another class on that, how Srila Prabhupada's position. Srila Prabhupada has given us the qualification to know Krishna. And we should realize that through Srila Prabhupada, all of us can achieve what Parikshit Maharaj is achieving here, and actually more. So this is the importance of our spiritual lineage. We see here Gotra, Gotrasya in the last line of the verse. Tad Gotrasyata Bandhava, right? Gotrasya means the descendant. We all have our Gotras, 7 Sapta Rishi. There are 7 rishis, the Sapta Rishi. There's actually a Sapta Rishi Kund. I tried to get there once. It's above Yamnotri in the Himalayas. The 7 Gotras are from Kashyapa, Atri, Vashisht, Vishwamitra, Gautam, Jamadagni, and Bharadwaj. These are the Sapta Rishis. And all of the Manushya, all of mankind are descended from these 7 rishis. But so if you're asked in any Havan, we realize that our lineage is coming from one of these 7 rishis. But what happens after you take initiation into this Brahma Madhva Gauriya Sampradaya? Your Gotra changes. Your Gotra changes. It goes from one of these 7 and you become Achyutya. Achyutya Gotra. Achyutya means the infallible Gotra. The infallible Gotra, why? Because this is coming directly from Swayam Bhagavan Shri Brajendra Nandana Shri Krishna from Vrindavan via Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu via Srila Prabhupada. And then you are reborn into this infallible lineage with Srila Prabhupada at the head. And now your success is assured. You keep yourself faithful to Srila Prabhupada. This Gotra, you are Gotrasya. You are now part of this lineage which will take you back directly to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world. So that is the value of this Gotrasya, this Gotra. If we are, like Parikshit Maharaj, cognizant of our spiritual ancestors, of course, we always pay all respects to our birth parents and all of the lineage. But the best way that we can serve them is by becoming part of this Achyutya Gotra and rendering service, because automatically we are elevating our ancestors to a higher position, and we are also achieving something which even the great rishis of Satya Yuga are unable to achieve. So I will finish the class there. If there are any comments, corrections, questions, then I'm happy to answer them and also be informed. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for this excellent class. We have a question from Sandhya Mataji. Kindly unmute and ask your question, please, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the class.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, thank you. Prabhuji, just wanted to ask, what does it mean, elevate our ancestors? Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Good question. I think a good starting point is here in the purport itself. So Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord gives special protection to the family members and descendants of a devotee, even though such members are themselves non-devotees. Maharaj Prahlad was a great devotee of the Lord, but his father Hiranyakashipu was a great atheist and declared enemy of the Lord. But despite all this, Hiranyakashipu was awarded salvation due to his being the father of Maharaj Prahlad. The Lord is so kind that he gives all protection to the family members of his devotees. So what this means by elevating, Srila Prabhupada is saying here that actually they achieve salvation. They achieve spiritual perfection. So simply by you becoming a devotee, and more importantly, a pure devotee, your family members, both who are present here or previous generations you may never have actually physically encountered, will be elevated. And as I said in the Shastra, it's given that seven generations before and 7 generations after will be elevated. Some references are there. Some references are 1,000 generations before and 1,000 generations after will be elevated. And there is a reference, please forgive me because I can't quote specifically, but I've certainly read that it's unlimited. I think Kaviraj Goswami mentions unlimited generations before and unlimited generations afterwards will achieve salvation. So one can then ask the question, what does salvation mean? Does salvation mean Brahman realization? Does salvation mean elevation to Vaikuntha? Does salvation mean elevation to Goloka Vrindavan? And as we've explained, that Vaikuntha, you worship Lakshmi Narayan in Ashwarya Bhav. But in Goloka Vrindavan, you worship Radha Krishna in Madhurya Bhav, and it supersedes even that elevation. The question to that is, that's down to the Lord. So you'll have to ask Krishna about that question, because there's been many debates to and fro, the different Shastra references. But still, we see from a point of being stuck in the ocean of birth and death to ultimately achieving spiritual realization, simply because of their descendant or their ancestor. You be a descendant of 1,000 generations, ancestor to 1,000 generations. That is the benefit of being a devotee, and that is the elevating power of being a devotee. You elevate not just their material, you elevate them beyond even the highest material existence to the highest existence in the spiritual sky. I hope does that answer your question, Mataji? Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. There's another question on my chat. It says, what should we do in Pitru Paksha?
So, Pitru Paksh, I think, now, I'm not here to in any way interfere with people's personal traditions. I'm sure many families have their own personal traditions for worshipping the ancestors. I myself, I went to Badrinath last year, and I actually offered Pitradhan to my ancestors there in Badrinath, in front of Badri Vishal. We went for the Suprabhatam, the special morning ceremony about 3 a.m., right up in the Himalayas, and then we offered up Pitradhan. However, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, in fact, actually, Golokera Prema Dhana Harinam Sankirtana, the highest form of worship that there is, which supersedes all, is the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. If you can get together with devotees, be in the kirtan and chant Hare Krishna, this is the highest. Even higher than that is if you go out and you take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, you go on Harinam, you go and distribute books. There is no yajna, there is no sacrifice, there is no tapasya which will supersede this. There is nothing. Why? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the form of the greatest devotee. Right? Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He is the Shaktiman. He is the enjoyer. But Radharani is the Shakti. She is the energy. She is the highest servant. One thing that Krishna doesn't know that Radharani knows, is how to serve him the best. And that is why Krishna has appeared as Srimati Radharani in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is showing us how to perfectly worship the Lord. And what does he say? Go out and you chant the holy name of Sri Krishna. So the highest thing that one can do is a congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Of course, if you have your cultural practices, by all means, I'm not here to interfere with that, but know that the greatest benefit that you can endow yourself and your family is the Yuga Dharma, which is Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that.
Thank you, Sir. I hope that made sense to whoever. Who asked the question?
Chandni Mataji.
Chandni Mataji. Thank you so much, Chandni Mataji. Very nice.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm cognizant of the time, so we can take one last question. Prabhuji, I can ask a question. So there are various other sampradayas, like Via Gaudiya Madhva. Then there is Sri Sampradaya and Lambarka Sampradaya. So all those are Achyutam Gotra, or they come under the Saptarishi?
So all of those, so actually there's 5 sampradayas. Do you know that? Because there's 4 sampradayas, the Brahma Sampradaya coming from Lord Brahma. There's the Sri Sampradaya coming from Lakshmi Devi. There's the Nimbarka Sampradaya coming from the 4 Kumaras. And then there's the Rudra Sampradaya, which is coming from Brahma, actually, 4 Kumaras. Sorry, yeah, which is Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, coming from Lord Shiva himself. That's different from Shankaracharya's, which is then, anyway, that's something different. So there's 4 sampradayas. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. He was initiated by Ishvara Puri, who was coming within the Brahma Sampradaya. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did is from these 4 sampradayas, which are very close, but slight philosophical differences, you can research that separately. He borrowed certain teachings from all of them. He synthesized them, right? Ultimately creating the Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, which basically means we are simultaneously one and different from the Supreme Lord. The soul is similar in terms of quality to the Lord. We are spiritual by nature. The Lord is spiritual, but we have a form eternally. The Lord has a form eternally. So we are similar in quality, but we are different in quantity, right? The Lord is undiminished. What's that verse from Sri Upanishad? That even if you take from the Lord, he is still Om Purnam Midam Purnamidam. The Lord is always Purna. Even if he creates a universe with his energy, it's not that, a chunk of his body is gone. He is still complete. He's beyond our conception. So in that way, in terms of his quantity is different. And the example is given sometimes by the acharyas that if you take the ocean and you take a small glass of salt water, in terms of quality, the water in the glass and the ocean is the same. So qualitatively, they're the same. But quantitatively, they're different. In the ocean, great whales and fish can live. Whereas in this little cup, no aquatics can live. It's too small. It can't make waves, whereas the ocean can destroy a whole city. So that's the basic tattva of this 5th sampradaya that we find ourselves in, the Achyuta Sampradaya. Now, all of the other 4 sampradayas, yes, they're bona fide, and they will take you to Vaikuntha, to Narayana. They may even take you above there to Ayodhya or Dwarka. But so Vaikuntha exists, and then above Vaikuntha there is a realm called Ayodhya eternally. And above Ayodhya there is a realm called Dwarka, where you can worship Rukmini Dwarkadish or Sri Ramachandra eternally. Hanuman is there in Ayodhya eternally. In fact, Hanuman, that's another thing, but I won't digress. But the special benefit of the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So our root or our branch of Brahma Sampradaya is coming via Madhva, and our branch of Madhva Sampradaya is coming through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is that we are Achyutya, we are infallible. Why? Because we will achieve the topmost part of the spiritual sky, which the other 4 sampradayas will not. So the other 4 sampradayas, yes, they will definitely lead to Vaikuntha. You will definitely be able to worship the Lord eternally. But Mahaprabhu, he debated with Venkata Bhatta in Sri Ranga, in the Sri Sampradaya capital. And ultimately, he defeated them by saying, actually, worship of Krishna in Vrindavan is superior to the worship of Lakshmi Narayan in Vaikuntha, because of all the reasons we mentioned earlier. The sweetness, the interaction, the closeness of the devotion is much higher and more intimate than the love that can be expressed as just being a humble servitor. And as a result of that, one of the 6 Goswamis, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who was a Sri Vaishnava, then became a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and established the Radharaman temple in Vrindavan. So, sorry, that was a very long way of explaining that, yes, all of them are Achutya, but there is a special sweetness of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice question. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Prabhuji, it does. Thank you so much. We've exhausted our time for today, so I can request Path Prema Prabhu. Prabhuji, are you there? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Is it possible for you to end the session for today?
Yes,
Hare
yes.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your nice class. Also, you explained so many things about the Pitru Paksha and ancestors and so many things. And it's a very nice and informative class. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Also, thanks all the devotees who joining here. I request everyone, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His Grace Krishna Arjun Prabhuji. Please join. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha
Sarvesya Vasidubhyaiva
Pradhanam
Namo Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
ki jai. ISKCON Eldoret ki jai.
jai. His Grace Krishna Arjun Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. See you soon.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.